Kathy, why might we not like a part of our body?
Such a great question. And I think just even what understanding where the dislike comes from can give us some power. A lot of us are swimming like fish in this water of I don't like my body. And when we start breaking it down and understanding where these beliefs and the power comes from, we can at least examine it a little more and decide if we is this something I want to hold on to, or is this something I want to do some work on versus this is just what is. So I think the first one that comes is just a very foundational. It's like functional. Is your body working the way that conventionally we're taught bodies are supposed to work? So if we see people on TV, we're our culture is very normalized to people that are able-bodied. So if all of a sudden we sprain our ankle or we're getting older or we put a lot of weight on it the other day and all of a sudden we're sore and we're limping, there could be a lot of judgment and you know, like body, come on, you're supposed to be something. There's a lot of you should function normally.
Right. So, first one is there's some function of your body that's not working the way that you'd like it to or it used to, but there's something functional. So, if you hurt your shoulder, that would be a functional thing. And you might like really hate the fact that your shoulder's been hurt
Yeah,
for a week or a year, or maybe it's never going to be functioning exactly the same way, that your injury, the trauma that happened to it is more on the permanent side. It doesn't mean that you've got some flex in terms of functioning and optimization, but it can create that feeling like, it's not going to function or it doesn't function that way. And I don't like it. And
yeah.
so I don't like it, that it doesn't function becomes like, I don't like my arm or I don't like my neck. I don't like my back. It gets stuck there.
Mhm.
And in that, there's a bit like, oh, I don't like something. We want to move away from it. And
Disassociate from it.
right. So just to reiterate, a real skill, to call something a real skill says, oh, it's a skill. It's something that I can learn. So like being aware of, oh, there's a functioning thing that's going on and I don't like it. The skill says, oh, I don't like it. And it's still me. I'm still I'm going to be with the feelings I have about it. I'm going to seek to optimize my adaptation as much as possible. And it's a functioning thing. You become aware of it, like, oh, this is about my function. And that's different than number two, which is
The comparison. So our bodies are changing our whole lives. Rick has this beautiful 5-month-old baby, Adira, and literally every day she's changing. But as adults too, we're like, I have more gray hair coming in. I have a few more wrinkles showing up. I'm sometimes a little stiffer when I get out of bed, especially if I hadn't stretched the day before. So we're noticing things changing, and we may have liked at least better the way we were a year ago or 2 years ago or 10 years ago, and our brain is like, oh, I'm not as good as I was, and there's that same blame and dissociation going on.
yeah, so the changes that happen that we don't like. I've worked with clients where they love the fact that they could pull all-nighters, that they could really work on a project, maybe
Yeah.
2 or even 3 days, or that they could just Trojan their way through. Um, just didn't matter what it was, that they could really push, push, push. And then their body says, oh no. And it's not necessarily an age thing. Like that happened to me in my 20s. My body said, oh no. And that change, there's this, I don't, I don't like this change. And then again, the default when we don't like something is to objectify it as something separate. And so we objectify a part of our body or our whole body, our nervous system, our guts, our digestive system as, oh, this thing has changed and I don't like it. I don't like it. And we push it away. And again, our approach from an energy standpoint is to recognize that anytime we push away a part of us, it doesn't get the same healing energy. It doesn't feel like it's a part of us. And so it's a bit like it's just hanging on and not getting the same kind of integrative well-being
Yeah.
wherever our well-being is. So, and that's number two is the changes. People can get really fixated on a change, even if it doesn't affect their function necessarily in a negative way. It's just different. It triggers us. We can have a cascade of beliefs. And aging and what it means to age is fraught with all of these limiting beliefs. And that's one of the things that we are a specialist in is like all the limiting beliefs that come with change and what it means or could mean to us.
Yeah.
Which brings us to number three, which is really sticky, icky, and impactful, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, it's all the like social, the media, the society, all the oughts. We should look a certain way. So our society is really objectified and made that we should all be about a size two. We should all have very light skin. We should have preferably blonde hair and blue eyes. We should be very fit. You should have a very flat tummy. If you're female identified with maybe a little hint of muscle. If you're male identified, there should be a six pack there. Shouldn't have hair in certain places. Yeah. We should be graceful and suave and all these things that we are taught that if we don't have, we're not sexual beings, we're not desirable, we're not valuable. And our survival brain really wants to be valuable. So we're bombarded with all this information on TV and media and news and then oh our poor brain goes out in the world and we know we don't quite meet that and we see people's gazes and we see them look away or not engage us and it's more proof sometimes it's real sometimes it's not that we're not valuable and we just that's heavy for our survival brain. It's like oh no one's going to rescue me when the hyenas attack.
Yeah. And so like being aware of how we're manipulated in with messaging, what is status? There have been times in human history where to to have voluptuousness was really high status because
Yeah.
everyone was starving. And if you had voluptuousness, wow, they were
You're well.
painting you. They were
Yes.
putting your naked body up on the wall. And so like just being aware of that and asking the question, how is this impacting me at all? Is
Yeah.
the fact that this runner runs by me on the trail and he's looking a certain way, does that diminish my confidence? Well, my primitive brain this morning picked up on here's a runner, he's a man, and he's moving, you know, and like he's got this look, and the look was straight from a Nike ad.
Oh
And
wow.
because I'm like, oh, and then I pause, and it's true that the primitive brain part of us is always active. And that's one of the things that's part of real skill is to say, oh, this is a this is a mammalian status thing going on. And of course that's there. Of course that's there. And then there's and how would I like to be? And that's where our confidence starts building up from our value. Like, what do I really value? And that drops us out of the primitive brain into this congruence, like, oh, you know, I value people who can be present with what is, and 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 be attuned to the environment that they're in and the beings that they're sharing the space with. Like that, like as I tune to that, the fact that someone can run past me without acknowledgement really, there's a certain kind of status trigger, like, what does that mean? Tap, tap, tap. What it means to me is I really value people that as they interact and pass by each other, that there's a sense of we're sharing this ecosystem, and I'm glad for you and you're glad for me. And so like that takes me out of that same kind of manipulated and manipulative way of being with one another. And
Yes.
that takes skill. And I'll say this, the people that do that work, and if you've watched us this far, I'm going to guess that you're the type of person that wants to interact in the way that Kathy and I are, with mutual safety, respect, a curiosity, where we both get to learn and teach. The student teacher energy, I think, is such a beautiful thing. It doesn't say that, I'm an authority over anyone, but I'm with you. And so we invite you to join us in this exploration of how to be more confident. Even though you don't like a part of your body, how do you bring that back in? How do you calm down the noise around function or change or, this should be
Social,
different?
yeah.
This kind of external, like manipulated by culture. How do you get out of that and into something that feels really good to you? So,
So that you can walk through the world in more confidence. And I've watched that happen in myself and other people. I love it. So I hope you, we have a call coming up. We'd love for you
mhm.
to join us if you're
And you may
interested.
be watching this video after that session has happened. So please, where you're seeing the video, there'll be a link to the workshop or the recording. So thank
Yes.
you. Bye for now.